What is going on, Hawks Nation? Welcome back to another edition of the HFTV podcast brought to you by Alex and Mac. Hopefully, you guys had a great holiday break. You had a great Christmas if you celebrate Christmas or Kwanzaa, Hanukkah. Hopefully, everything was time well spent with the family. And on behalf of myself and everyone at HawksFanTV, we wish each and every one of you guys a happy holidays and a great incoming new year. Mac, how was your holiday break, my man?
It was awesome, man. It was great. Off the court and on the court, Hawks basically only played one game. That Pistons game we'll go into a little later. But like you said, man, I myself got to spend a lot of time with family. My girlfriend and my family's actually met for the first time, and it went well. It was it went well. Everybody was happy and jolly, and it was great, man. And I actually ended up being surprised with a basketball goal on Christmas morning. I felt like a kid again, but it was already built in the driveway for me and everything. So, my NBA dream starts today, guys. I know I'm almost 30, but hey, I might be in the league in a couple years. So we'll see what
Hey,
happens.
never too
Um,
late, Mac. Never too late.
Exactly. Never too late, man. But yeah, man, it was a great holiday break for me. As you said, I'll kind of just reiterate that. I hope everyone else had a great holiday as well. It's a wonderful time of year. It can be a tough time of year for certain people. I do have a few of my buddies that's the case for them. So for those of you, definitely looking out for you guys as well. Hope that holiday wasn't too tough for you this year. But yeah, man, it's a wonderful time. All smiles over here, all positivity, and we can definitely go into a little bit of a Hawks breakdown. As I mentioned, not too many games happened since our last episode. It was really just that Pistons game. But, I'll say this, man. It was a 25-point win against the team right now that currently has the worst record in the league. So Hawks did what they got to do. You know what I mean? It was not one of those squeaker games where we won by, a few possessions. No, we definitely came out and kicked some ass, pardon my French on that one. It was a little bit of the battle of the Bogdanoviches. Both guys had pretty good games. Obviously, our bogey came away with the win, so happy about that. It was it was a fun game. I don't really have much to say about it. Like I said, we handled our business. It was nothing to get too worked up about. Like I said, it was a game that we should have won by 25 points. So that's why I'm not going to think too much into it or whatnot. Before I toss it over to you, I will say I thought it was a little lame. We ended up not being one of the Christmas Day games this year. I think it feels like we almost got screwed over for having people be injured last year and I think there was at least one or two people that had COVID at the time. So yeah, it was unfortunate with that. I definitely would have liked to see the Hawks play on Christmas again, especially a healthy Hawks squad. But hey, man, I actually, with that being said, have a decent amount of faith that we will be playing on Christmas next year and hopefully actually hosting the game instead of being the away squad. So we'll see what happens. But
Yeah.
yeah, Alex, how did you feel about that Detroit game, my man?
Yeah, like you said, man, it was we took care of business, right? A lot of these games that we've seen all season have really come down to the wire, or we have a big lead, we give up the lead late in the fourth quarter, same old, same old. But the last game that we played was very encouraging. A lot of people are going to say, oh, it was against the Pistons, the worst team in the league. They only have 8 wins, yada, yada, yada. But hey, anytime you can win by 20 plus against an NBA team, that's a huge W. And the way this season's been going for us so far, Mac, I'll take as many 20-point wins as possible, regardless of the opponent. Every single starter in that game and every single player, too, that actually played and saw minutes was a positive in the plus minus BPM. So that's awesome. Team high, John Collins plus 23. The second highest was DeJounte Murray at plus 19. Couple of quick tidbits from this game. First and foremost, DJ looked fantastic. He chipped in, tied the team in most points in the game. He had 26 points, 5 dimes, but he had 4 steals. So this is, I think, game number 4 where DeJounte has already had 4 or more steals in a single game. So love to see that tenacity from the defensive side from DeJounte, one of the main reasons why we brought him over here, and also chipped in 3 rebounds as well. JC, slow game, but he played great defensively, protecting the rim when Clint Capella was out. JC only had 8 points, but chipped in 12 rebounds and a season high 3 assists. So great job on JC, and also had 3 blocks, tied with Clint Capella for. He actually led the team in most blocks, actually. Clint had 2. Unfortunately, there was a slight downside to the game, and that is Clint Capella kind of re-injuring. We don't know the extent of the injury just yet, folks, but his right calf was experiencing some soreness and tightness. If you guys know, that is the same calf that he missed the last couple games with. So hopefully this little long break of the last 4 days, hopefully our guys are healthy. I know DeAndre Hunter also injured his ankle in the first half of last game, but he did come back and finish that game. However, that could have just been the adrenaline. Once you sleep on it and you wake up the next morning, probably could have experienced some swelling, because the ankle sprain didn't look that good, to be quite honest, but hopefully it's nothing too serious. But Trae Young, 26 points. He only took 15 shots, Mac, gave us 26 points, 13 assists, and only 1 turnover. So his final stat line was 26 and 13, 2 steals, 2 rebounds, 1 turnover, and shot an incredibly efficient 9 of 15 from the floor and
7
3 of
three-pointers, if
7
I remember.
3 of 7 from distance that game too. So
Okay.
that actually was one of Trae's best games of the season, in my opinion, just because of the playmaking. He obviously was scoring efficiently, got to the line a few times, but that 1 turnover is a beautiful thing to see. If he can just limit, 1 to 2 turnovers per game, if he can replicate what he did the last game, then we're going to win a lot of games from this point forward. But that was a beautiful performance. And while we're on Trae Young, it's if you guys like, obviously a lot of the haters, Mac, they were talking about Trae Young's start to the season, and we know Trae historically starts pretty slowly to start the season, right? But usually it only lasts maybe 10, 15 games at most, and then he's right back into being Trae Young. This season in particular, it's taken roughly around 25 to 28 games for him to really find that stroke. But just in the last 4 games alone, he's averaging 32 points a game, over 10 assists per game, 44% from 3 on 8.2 attempts, so very high volume, 44%, and almost 50% from the field. These are MVP level numbers, right? If he could have just done this throughout this entire season, he probably would be like a top 3 seed at this point. But hey, no time like the present, Mac. And right now, Trae Young is playing his best basketball. It's perfect timing too. A lot of our guys are coming back healthy. But hey, what have you seen from Trae these past couple games that you like?
I mean, I think you nailed it on the head, man. We're starting to see the Trae Young that we've all come to love and know, as Atlanta fans. So it's good to see him getting that shooting percentage up, because sure, early in the season, as you mentioned, he was still putting up pretty high points, but it was on 37% shooting on the night, or probably even worse for a lot of the time. So definitely good to see him getting back into his groove. Hawks are getting back in their groove. Won 3 of the last 4. We got Indiana tonight in Indiana, or at Indiana rather. So I think that's a very winnable game. Brooklyn should be a little tough. We'll kind of get into those later, but right now, man, I feel good. I think the heat is kind of starting to die down. The dust is settling a little bit with all that, just for lack of a better term, drama that was surrounding the team. It feels like we're kind of getting past that, focusing more on just the fundamentals of playing the game of basketball and building team camaraderie and whatnot. So, I feel good about the whole team, especially Trae. Like you said, the numbers he's putting up right now, if he had been doing that all season, we're easily a top 3 seed, and he's easily in MVP discussions, if you ask me. I know national media, for whatever reason, seems to not really like Trae Young that much, but it still doesn't matter. Numbers don't lie. So we'll see what happens. When a guy like Trae Young starts playing his best basketball of the year, it's for opposing fans, I'm sure it's probably a little frustrating, but for Hawks fans, man, it's exciting. We probably are going to see some 40 burgers and things like that here soon. And I'm ready, man. I'm ready. And the new year is a new start for not only all of us, but the Atlanta Hawks as well, man. So I'm excited. I'm excited about about this turn that the team seems they're making right now, and especially Trae Young. So we'll see what happens. We'll see what happens.
As we all are, as we all are. Yeah, Trey's heating up, folks, and once Trey, continues this play, I think it's obviously just going to elevate this team even more. But not only Trey,
Is crypto going to
because
zero?
oh god, Trey's been fantastic, but uh, and as Trey continues to perform at this level, obviously I think we're going to start racking up a lot of W's because, as we mentioned in every show, there's still a lot of the season left to be played, and we haven't even reached the halfway point. So we've referred to this multiple times now in previous episodes, but hey, the Celtics, very similar situation as last year. They were hovering around 500 pretty much up until the All-Star break. They flipped that switch and just went on a tear and obviously made the finals. Not saying that we're gonna, we're a shoo-in for the finals, but things like this have happened before. So,
and I think a key point, real quick, about the compared to the Celtics, they didn't make a coaching change, so it was just that they finally started gelling, and maybe whatever God, I can never say his name right, Ime Udoka's system was last year, maybe it just started working. I'm not saying that. I'm just saying maybe it isn't that Nate needs to leave. Look, man, at the end of the day, best case scenario as Hawks fans, we have to accept it is that Nate McMillan is a championship winning coach. Okay. Like, starting over fresh is not necessarily something that, we want to do again. We're not as young of a team as we were last time we did it. And, if, we turn things around and go into the postseason strong, I do think Nate deserves to come back next season. But we'll see what happens. Well, and that's what I'm saying, man. If we turn it around and do as you're saying, what the Celtics did and go to the finals, no, I don't think Nate needs to get the boot at that point. So I'm just saying,
we make the finals. Nate absolutely deserves to come back, but
yeah, and that's all I'm saying. That's all. If we do make the turn that you're kind of comparing us to, and I know you did mention that, like, you're not saying that we're going to go to the finals. I'm kind of taking it that further step, if you will, that if we do make it to the finals, I get it, man. I'm critical of Nate too. Like, honestly, I think I'm probably one of the people that is more critical of Nate. But at the end of the day, like I said, best case scenario is that Nate is the guy for us. So, so we'll see what happens.
Best case would be, yeah, if we won a lot of games and made the finals, then we can claim Nate to be that guy. I think the Celtics situation, Ime, he was a first-year head coach. Obviously, there was going to be a lot of kinks that they needed to work out. And they just needed that extra time to gel. Nate, on the other hand, has been a head coach for 20 plus seasons, so it's slightly different meter for me personally. Like, we've already seen what Nate has done in the last 2 decades as a head coach, and it's never that successful. So hey, hopefully I'm wrong. Maybe in year 22 he can surprise a bunch of people, and we can make a finals appearance. But the one thing that I think we can absolutely agree on, and most Hawks fans, is this team is talented, right? And aside from Trae Young, Trae's looking fantastic. Hopefully he continues that up. DeJounte's looking good. I want to see DeJounte continue applying the pressure. And one thing that he was so great at in San Antonio was, being able to break down his man off the dribble and then attacking the basket, getting to the rim and just finishing around the paint. We haven't seen that as much, at least I haven't seen it this particular season, and maybe that's still because it's a brand new team and he's just trying to get other guys involved. But DJ, we're 30 plus games in the season. Like, it's time for you and Trae to take over in moments that we need y'all to. And I want to see him keep being aggressive. But the team, we're starting to get a lot of guys back. Bogey's officially back. Bogey's actually averaging almost 18 points a game on 40% from three since coming back from his injury. And he's scored in double digits every single game except for 2. So 9 out of the 11 games that since he's been back, he scored double digits, 3 of which were almost 30 burgers. He scored 31 against Brooklyn, 28 against Chicago, 28 against Charlotte. So Bogey's looking fantastic. AJ Griffin, it looks like he's slowly starting to find his rhythm. And, those first few months of rookie basketball, first getting real minutes in the NBA, it looks like that's starting to settle down a little bit. And I'll tell you what, Mac, those lineups in that second unit with Bogey and DeJounte and AJ Griffin, love those lineups. I want to see more of that. But this is exactly what we talked about, before pre-injury Bogey. We said, hey, once Bogey gets back, that's going to help our second unit out tremendously. It's going to help our spacing out. And that's exactly what we've seen. I forget exactly what the stat is, but before Bogey came back, we were like bottom five in all 3-point categories, spacing categories, etc. Now we're more like in the middle of the pack, a little slightly below middle of the pack, but you see that significant jump since Bogey's come back. And once Trae, starts continuing his 3-point efficiency, that's just going to increase. AJ's looking real nice as of late. But yeah, I mean, and I said this in one of our post game shows, which by the way, if you guys aren't following us on Twitter, make sure you follow us at HawksFanTV. We do post game shows after every single game, win or lose. And it looks like Nate is slowly starting to tighten up that rotation, Mac. And this is one of the big things that Nate has been criticized of in previous years is doing those hockey subs and, basically going the full bench and playing as many guys as possible. But these last couple of games, sorry about that. These last couple of games, he's really tightened up that rotation. So it's really the same 8 people that we've seen. It's, of course, our obvious starters, Trae, DJ, DeAndre, JC, and Clint Capella. Then you got pretty much Bogies, the first off the bench. Then you got AJ and Onyeka Okongwu. That's pretty much our 8-man rotation that we've been running for the past 2 games. Hopefully it continues. But it looks like because Bogey's back, it looks like our good friend Jalen Johnson has been slowly taken out of the rotation, unfortunately. But hey, I get it. It's very similar to Cam Reddish, right? Like some plays he looks fantastic. He'll make a great pass, finish at the rim, whatever. And then the other times he looks like completely lost. So and that's kind of what he's experiencing right now. So I understand why we had to pick Jalen to kind of come out the rotation, but I'm fine with running an 8-man rotation with maybe a little bit of Aaron Holiday or someone like that playing spot minutes here and there. But I really like that first 8-man rotation that we have. Very strong, very, very strong.
Oh yeah, no, and I'll go to say that our 8-man rotation is, I'm not going to say it's one of the best in the league, but it's on the better side of, I'd say, top 12 in the league, maybe. And we'll prove that as this 8-man rotation continues to go. Obviously, we're not going to be able to do an 8-man rotation for the rest of the season, but I would think, these big games that we got here coming up, the 2 at home against the Nets and the Lakers. The Lakers sure have a losing record right now. They're a little bit of a roller coaster of a team, but it's still the Lakers. It's still LeBron, right? Like me and you were at the game last year. It's still going to be insane. And the game before that is just this team, the Brooklyn Nets, Kyrie and KD. So 2 huge home games back to back. I do think we'll probably see I would guess if we can, as long as the game doesn't start going too far in either direction, we'll probably see pretty much that 8-man rotation in each game. Because have it be these are in December, these are, it's going to feel like a playoff atmosphere inside of State Farm those 2 nights. I know it will. I was there every single game last year. That place is going to be rocking those 2 nights. So it's going to be huge games for the Hawks. I truly think going 2-0 is definitely doable. I think that's very much in the realm of possibility for the Hawks here. Kind of what you were saying a little, I want to add to it. DeJounte, I agree. It's not that he's playing bad, I won't say that at all, but I do want to see him start taking over a little bit more. We saw glimpses of that in the beginning of the season. I think most notably against the Knicks in Madison Square Garden after Trae went out. So he can do it. He can do it on the Hawks too, not just like we've seen it, in San Antonio in the past. So do want to see him take over a little bit more than he has, but like I said, to finish that, he's not playing bad by any means. Just want to see him take it to the next level. So I don't know, man. It's an exciting time to be a Hawks fan. I wish our record was a little bit better than it is right now, but as you mentioned, the possibility of us getting this thing turned around pretty quickly is still right there. It's been right there. It's right in front of us. We gotta do it. And I think with Trae being obviously the best player on the team leader, or if he should be the team leader rather, if he isn't inside the locker room, him playing the way that he is right now and turning it around, it's giving me the confidence as a fan to think that we as a team are actually turning this around. So it feels good. And yeah, man, we'll kind of talk about a little bit of the little bit more of the injuries and this West Coast road trip that we have coming up. But before we do that, why don't you give a little shout out to our sponsors over at Firmament real quick?
Yeah, really quick before we get into the commercial break, last player I wanted to touch on is Onyeka Okongwu. Like Onyeka, I've been in particularly very critical of Onyeka just because I was expecting that huge kind of year three leap. I spoke to him during media day, asked him if he was ready, and he said he was going to make a lot of Hawks fans proud. So, not we've seen some flashes, most notably against those Bucks and where Onyeka's looked fantastic, especially against Giannis. But these last couple of games, Onyeka's looked fantastic. Like he's actually one of the players that stand out to me the most. He probably had the best game of his season, if not maybe his career. On that Wednesday night game against the Bulls that we should have won, but he finished the game with 18 and 11, 5 blocks, 8 of 14 from the field, and he was just all over the place, just being a menace on the defensive end. And then he followed that up with another great performance against Detroit, 12 points, 9 rebounds, 2 assists, 2 blocks. He's now has scored in double digits for 3 consecutive games, which is the longest stretch of the entire season, or tied for the longest stretch. But Onyeka's, I don't know what he's been doing differently, what the coaches told him, or maybe he was just in his head for the first, 20-ish games of the season. But Onyeka's looked like a completely different player in these last 2 games specifically. And hopefully he can continue that and just roll that over and ride that momentum into playing like the true number 6 overall pick. 'Cause, right, that was he was a lottery pick. We picked him high in the draft, and these last couple games, he's really looking like a true difference maker. So would love to see that continue from Big O. With that being said, before we get into the injuries, as you mentioned, Mac, quick shout out to our sponsors of the pod. That is our guys at firmamentsolutions.com. Absolutely great guys, local company based out of here in Atlanta. So if you're ever looking to build a physical network for the future, only networks that can actually scale with technology will be able to do so. And that's exactly what Firmament Solutions does. I would highly recommend checking them out if you're a business owner or working for a business. Give those guys a look at firmamentsolutions.com. That is FIRMAMENT solutions.com. So they do great work. Give those guys a check-in, and yeah, they're a great organization. So shout out to those guys for sponsoring the podcast. Much love, and back to our regular scheduled programming. Injuries. The injuries. We've obviously dealt with a lot of injuries, Mac, but we came back, and yesterday, or not yesterday, the last game that we played against was the first time all season that we've had every single guy healthy, right? And we saw the outcome, 25-point win. Sure, maybe it was against one of the worst teams in the league, but like I said, the NBA is a tough league. We see upsets all the time, even for us especially, but we came out and took care of business, and that was probably the most comfortable win we've experienced all season long.
Oh, yeah.
Unfortunately, the glory was short-lived because it did look like Clint and DeAndre might have re-injured something. So Clint did leave the game early. He's questionable to return tonight. As well as with DeAndre Hunter, he injured his ankle that first half against the Pistons, but he was at morning shoot around this morning. So that could be a good indication that he's healthy. But I wouldn't even risk, if Clint and DeAndre need to sit out another game or so, we're on a back-to-back tomorrow. No reason to rush it. I think although the Pacers are playing great basketball, they just played last night, so they're actually off to a back-to-back, and they're going to be a little winded. And I think we have enough talent, especially if Trae continues his play. I think him and, DeJounte and, Bogey, those guys, I think they should be enough to carry the load. But prayers up to DeAndre and Clint Capella, because we're going to need them for these next stretch of games.
Oh, yeah. And I think you kind of nailed it on the head. It's by no means saying that Indiana is playing great basketball, so I'm not making that point at all, but I don't really think we want to risk either one of them having their kind of minor injuries. I'm saying minor because no, it's not like they got any sort of out for 6 weeks diagnosis or anything like that. So just saying, like, no need to push it, no need to re-injure it even worse. I think both these guys, if they were to sit out the next 2 or 3 games, could come back that fourth game and be fully healthy. You know what I mean? So yeah, I don't see the need to risk it at all, especially with exactly what you said right before the commercial for Clint's case. Onyeka is playing his arguably the best basketball of not only his entire season, maybe even his entire career. So, I think, you got to ride the hot hand. That's something you do in basketball, and pray that Big O keeps having big games. He seems to most notably against the Bucks, but it does seem like that kid loves the spotlight, man. When it's a big game, it seems like he normally does play his best. So we'll see what happens. I'm excited to see him yam on somebody from Brooklyn or Los Angeles, because Lord knows he will. So we'll see what happens. With the injuries, it's I'm not reading too much into him, because as you've said many times, if I said many times, it's a long season. These little injuries are going to happen. So a calf strain, it's not something you want your guys to go through. I'm sure it can be painful, and it's something that can keep you out. But at the end of the day, it's not something where they have to get surgery or anything like that. So, and if they have to get surgery, it may be something they can get done during the off season, right? So yeah, I don't feel I guess really to wrap up my feelings, I'm not too worried about the injuries. You do hate to see it, but for the most part, it does seem like they should be back. Maybe even this time next week.
Yeah.
So yeah.
And like I mentioned, the Pacers are coming off a back-to-back. They just lost to New Orleans last night in New Orleans by 20 points. So that's scary in some sense, but it's like double-edged sword, right, Mac? Like they're coming off a back-to-back, so we should have the upper hand in terms of stamina and just things like that, because we've had the last few days off. But they just got beat by 20 points, and I'm sure they're going to want to get that taste out of their mouth. So they're going to be coming out hot. Lloyd Pierce is on the bench, so whenever Trae goes against LP, he usually typically puts his best foot forward. So hopefully we come out with the W, because these next stretch of games is certainly going to be could be a turning point for the season, right? Like the Pacers, this is pretty much dead even. Vegas has Pacers like as a 1 point favorite, but that's usually, that's a wash, right? So we should win this game. The toughest game is going to be against that Nets squad tomorrow. That is at home, and then we play the Lakers, who the Lakers are horrible. No Anthony Davis. We should be favored in that one as well. And then we have a couple of more favorable matchups. We got the Warriors on Monday, then we got the Kings, and then the Lakers again. So, and the Warriors are pretty shorthanded as well. So out of most of these games, we should be favored minus tomorrow night's game against Brooklyn. But hey, we could make up a lot of ground here if we win tonight. We come out and get our revenge against the Nets. That's 2 wins. We beat the Lakers and the Warriors and the Kings and the Lakers again. That's quickly looking at 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 wins in a row. In addition to the last one, so we could potentially see a 7-game win streak. Now, that's going to be tough to do, because we've talked about our team getting hot, but I really believe this is slowly when we start to see the old Hawks come back. So again, this next stretch of 6-7 games is going to be very telling, and it's going to see what we're made out of. Our guys are healthy, and again, we should be favored in majority of these matchups except for the Nets game. But if we can beat that Nets team tomorrow, then guys, we could finish this next 6-7 games, at pretty much 7 games, 8 games above 500 potentially, if we play our cards right. 8 games above 500, that would surpass a season best. I think the best we've gotten is like 5 games above 500 when we started the season 7-3. So this could be huge for us. And like I said, it's a tight Eastern Conference race. There's only a few games that separate us and like a top 4 seed. So let's come out and get these W's, man.
Oh yeah. No, 2 little comments, then we'll wrap it up. The Pacers game tonight, I'll say if Trae drops a 40 burger, don't be shocked if he looks at the bench, the Pacers bench, at least once after one of his made shots. I don't know. There seems to, with LP being on the bench, just excited about that one. But I digress from that. To comment on the West Coast road trip that we have coming up. Historically, the Hawks tend to not do too bad on those West Coast road trips. I think either team on each coast, when you make those road trips, they can be kind of daunting for the traveling and how long you're away from home and how exhausting it can be. But Ever since I've been a Hawks fan, I feel like the Hawks actually tend to do pretty well on these West Coast road trips. So we'll see what happens. I don't know if we'll win all 6 of these games, as you mentioned, but I do think the chance of going 4-2, 5-1, whatever it may be, is very, very much in the realm of possibility. So it's an exciting time. Hopefully next time we record next week, it's the positivity is still there. But yeah, man, we'll go, like I said, we'll go and wrap it up on that. As we said in the beginning, happy holidays. The holidays for some people are still going on, and obviously we have New Year's Eve coming up. So to all you Hawks fans out there, especially those that follow HawksFanTV, we want to wish you a happy New Year from HawksFanTV, and hopefully your New Year, just like the Hawks, is going to be a little bit of a turnaround, and we'll get this thing settled right. So yeah, man, I'll throw it over to you for any last comments, but then we'll wrap it up after that.
Yeah, no, that's you nailed it beautifully, Max. So on behalf of myself and Mac and everyone else at HFTV, thanks for listening to us. Thanks for following us on all our social medias. We're doing another giveaway for the Bucks game in a couple weeks, so be on the lookout for that. But hey, we love each and every single one of you guys, and hopefully our team can turn it around, because this is an exciting time, and we need to start racking up these W's. And yeah, we appreciate all you guys listening. And until next time, we will see you guys later.
Go Hawks, baby.
Go Hawks.